Hi, and welcome back, everyone, to this overview today. I'm looking at the year-end teaching and learning report for 2019-2020. So I had a chance recently to sit down and just look at everything, put things together, look at the context of what's happened in the last year and try to understand things and give you a sense of what happened with the position that was the first year of my position, the faculty chair of teaching and learning, and also this idea of building out a teaching and learning component here at LTCC. So in the overview today, we'll talk about the context of teaching and learning from the perspective of what happened over the last year period, 2019 to 2020. So to do that, actually, if you want to follow along at home, I recommend going to ltccteachingandlearning.com, and then right at the top of the very first page, you'll see the Annual Reports tab, and you can click on that. It'll open it up as a PDF, and you can, of course, download it and follow along as I go through the report today. And so what we'll do is we'll go through the report, and then at the conclusion, I'll talk about some additional reflections in terms of survey reports I received this year and how those can help guide what's happening next year. And as I say throughout this report, the position is really about being responsive to the community, to the needs out there. That includes part-time, full-time faculty, of course. And because of COVID, a lot of my work really shifted into technology and training. And it's one of my skill sets for sure, so I enjoy focusing on the technology and training side of things. And this year, of course, that included work beyond faculty, working with staff and students in some cases, and even community members in terms of some of the Zoom training. And I have to start off the report by saying I think the college did a great job, everyone across the board, in adapting to the uncertainties of COVID and really trying to move forward in a direction that was positive for our students. Are we done? Of course not. It's like what Disney said about Disneyland, that it never being finished. I think the same thing can be said about what we try to accomplish with our trainings and our teaching and learning efforts. It's never accomplished in full. It's never a perfect report card or scorecard that we get, because there's always something new we can do, and that could be in terms of increasing the interactivity that happens in the classroom between faculty and students. It certainly could be increasing opportunities for students to receive equitable access to technology and learning support that happens, particularly as we've moved from a face-to-face campus to a primarily virtual campus here going into fall 2020. So a lot to reflect on in terms of improvement, in terms of moving forward, and the fact that it never ends and it's a constantly moving target in terms of what we try to do here in terms of teaching and learning. And again, it's a one-person show. In terms of just my position, I talk about it as an entity, but there isn't an office per se. There's my office back at the college, but like many of you, I've been doing things virtually here from my home office. So let's go through the report. At the end, we'll focus on reflections, and it will be an argument made for continuation of efforts and opportunities for more dialogue with all of you in the community. So the first page of the report just goes over what the program is. As suggested here, it's focused on promoting the positive values of teaching and learning and encouraging conversations, workshop participation, onboarding activities among faculty and all interested members of the LTCC community. The activities of the program are coordinated by the faculty chair of teaching and learning and are aimed at stimulating conversations of topics, activities, and engagements that focus on all aspects of faculty professional life, whether connected to teaching, counseling, library and information services, or other professional areas. And as many of you know, being a faculty member in California community colleges, whether you've been here over 20 years like I have, or this is your first year, there's so much that we're asked to do as faculty, whether we're counselors, library faculty, classroom faculty. We're asked to teach, to counsel, to work with staff, to manage facilities like a library or facilities within One Stop and efforts connected to the Promise Program and the DRC. We're asked to serve on committees. We're asked to act as mentors. We're asked to do so many different roles that it's almost impossible to encapsulate all of the faculty roles in one statement of faculty professional life. And that's why I think we need a lot of engagements with all of you in terms of areas that impact you. Not just classroom issues, but issues related to professional development, issues related to training, issues related to developing new opportunities for students, such as through equity or student clubs and activities. As we move more towards meta majors and guided pathways, more conversations certainly need to be had about careers and community liaison work and how to make sure that the efforts that we're all making as faculty members make a direct impact on our students when they graduate, transfer, open up a local business in Tahoe or do something else out there. So very important to recognize that faculty professional life is as diverse as imaginable. If you watch that video I did some time back on the website talking about diverse faculty experiences, I really was trying to encapsulate the fact that we are very different even though we hold that similar title of California Community College faculty. And certainly a ton to be proud of in terms of the efforts that we've made at the college. And, faculty certainly get recognized, but maybe we don't get recognized enough. And so we have to pat ourselves on the back and really say that we're doing amazing efforts in terms of trying to increase the opportunities for our students, equity efforts, and all the kind of stuff we've developed through Promise and many other programs at the college. So the focus of the teaching and learning program includes a number of key aspects of faculty professional life, training, and development. It has been connected in the past through the Faculty Chair of Teaching and Learning roles to the LTCC Promise program, campus-wide initiatives including University Center, meta majors, STEM and scheduling, guided pathways, instructional technology, and campus space. And the diversity of these efforts, I think, is just connected through some of the projects I've been involved in over the years, including University Center, meta majors, and the scheduling projects. So as this position continues to evolve and adapt, I think you'll certainly see changes in terms of some of that focus. For example, I'm no longer involved in scheduling, and that's perfectly fine with me. I have so many other efforts to focus on that I'm sure that the instruction office staff can handle that really great in terms of efforts going forward. Try to include some photos in here as well, just to give you a flair of what things have been like in terms of the trainings. This was back in E100 when we were actually meeting in person, so we kind of missed those days, but we've had such great participation on campus and virtually in so many of these trainings, so I thank you all for coming to many of these. Trainings and workshops, and I'll go over the core areas here of the teaching and learning program. So since the inception of the program, we've offered numerous trainings and workshops. Prior to COVID-19, of course, as I just mentioned, we offered these in person, and we always have offered these on YouTube livecast formats. Because of my expertise in audio and video work over the years, I'm very comfortable projecting these, hosting them live on YouTube. I think it's really important. When I took this position, when we were talking about the position, I mentioned to the president and the CIO that I think we need to do more in terms of reaching out virtually to our faculty. I don't think we've focused enough on the fact that many of our faculty are working at a distance, even before COVID-19. Our ISP faculty, our DE faculty, often don't even live in the state of California. So we have to make opportunities for those faculty as meaningful as we do for our in-person faculty. So the trainings will continue to offer in the livecast formats. And I know some of you have commented in surveys that there's a lot of videos and so forth. And that's important. If you don't have an archive of what's been said in these trainings, that's gone forever. So the whole point of having a lot of videos is very practical. It's to offer you opportunities to watch things going forward. And I want to mention that because I think there were some comments about why so many videos and why does the website have so many videos. It's very practical. If you don't have those videos, you can't watch anything. Think of it as a library. If you have meetings, you take minutes of meetings, and then someone who misses that meeting in the future can read those minutes and then have a sense of what happened. So having an audio-visual representation of what happened in a previous meeting is very important because then you can actually watch what took place and hear the conversations without actually having been there. And that idea of like what we call telepresence, I think, is very important for these trainings. So I want to mention that in addition to the YouTube archives, we've had great attendance in person and online. We've had full and part-time faculty, administration, classified staff, South Lake Tahoe community members. We've had a slew of campus experts, and I want to increase this next year, but certainly we've had a lot of connection to all of you out there. Kelly Greiner, John Kingsbury, Trevor Thomas, Mark Williams, all presented on different forms of technology, on the gradebook, on Canvas, on DRC resources, such that we can hopefully continue efforts to connect the dots across campus in terms of working with all of you through distance education, working with all of you in increasing opportunities for our students with disabilities, giving you more clarity on very practical things like the gradebook, both in Passport and in Canvas. So we will certainly continue to focus on those efforts going forward next year. I wanted to mention that we've offered focus in these trainings on all the modalities of teaching, face-to-face, DE, ISP, and the new E-format. We've targeted specific cohorts of teachers. A lot of work was done to work with ISSE, so you can check out a video that was done. That was a very lively, over 10 attendees from ISSE came and talked about their craft and asked questions about Zoom, and we did some additional recording after the fact because the conversation was so lively during it. And that's an example of the adaptability of teaching and learning here at LTCC. And I really want to make that clear that if you have an interest out there for your cohort as a faculty member, as a manager, we can certainly give you an opportunity to work with your faculty or staff in a way that makes sense. I'm happy to host a Zoom event, to put the calendar invite together, and to really work with all of you. In all, 2019, 2020, we had 450 people attend in person or virtually. And then we've had over 6,000 video views of all the videos that were produced for training purposes. So one of the things I said coming into my position, because of my YouTube presence, I said I really want to make use of YouTube in such a way that we can spread the word. In today's day and age, you can't really get the word out as you would in traditional senses in the past, putting flyers on campus and going to someone's office and saying, hey, there's a training coming up. In today's day and age, even before COVID-19, we become familiar with the fact that you have to use social media to capture an audience, to connect with that audience. And I think it's very important to maintain a focus on this going into next year. One of the things I enjoyed doing was a live cast of the student housing opening. I thought it was great. I did on-site interviews, and I did this virtually so people could watch at home, and then I edited a video after the fact. It's another example of using the opportunities, the platforms of social media, whether Facebook, whether Twitter, for me, YouTube, in ways to leverage and connect with an audience. So very important to continue that effort going forward. And I'll just jump back to the top of the page here. So the core areas of focus for teaching and learning include faculty onboarding, faculty training, professional resources, the CVC OEI grant, which will sunset in December 31st of 2020. It's been extended. The Lake Tahoe College Promise in 2019. I won't be teaching any of those classes in fall, but I set up the curriculum, and I've worked pretty hard with Terry and others on campus to make sure that that class can be taught by more individuals by moving it towards an interdisciplinary focus in terms of the designator for the discipline. The onboarding website, the onboarding Canvas site, instructional technology, and technical assistance. So any of you out there who have Zoom questions or something like that, great opportunity to work with all of you. And by the way, I did this recently for Katie Myers. I'll blur out the names because you haven't given me releases, but she was asking for people who received, just from me, this doesn't include Treva. Treva has her own list out there. This is just a list of April through June individuals who received technical assistance from me. And I wasn't creating a log of this, but what I did was I went back through my email. So it was actually 54 people. And some of these were very quick bits of technical assistance. Others were really extensive. I recall sitting down with one faculty member going through his efforts to try to publish a Zoom link, and that was over an hour and a half that we spent on that particular issue. So I want to mention that because there was a comment in one of the survey results I received that said, I wish that the FCTL did technical assistance, and I just want to emphasize I've been doing technical assistance for the past year. You may not be aware of that. If you don't talk to your colleagues, or if you didn't personally reach out to me, you may not be aware that the technical assistance is happening. But it's just really important to communicate that, because when I read that in a survey result, I want to say to the person, well, wait a second, it's actually been happening. So, and that's just important to recognize, because it's certainly part of my workload, in addition to all the stuff I've been doing with workshops, the Promise class, working on the CBC OEI grant, and also the website and the Canvas onboarding site. So wanted to mention that. Again, as I said earlier, a lot of these roles I think will change over time, certainly as the CBC OEI grant changes and goes away or evolves into something else, my roles could change as well. So here are some of the workshop topics from 2019 to 2020. And if you're wondering right now, how do I access any of those workshops? Very easy to find this. Go to ltccteachingandlearning.com. And I won't go through the whole website today. There are other videos on this and navigating the website. But there are videos strewn all throughout the various tabs here. The key here is to click on workshops, and then you can scroll down and you see all the workshops that have been offered in the past. Some of this changed because of COVID, because we assumed different things were happening. But you can start with Teaching Talk number 1 in September. Click on the video. All of these have videos. Some of them have specific resource websites. So for the syllabus, for example, and I'll be offering this one again, you can read the whole page. You can download syllabus snippets. And this was another way that I connected with all of you throughout the year, was I sent out a request and got back many results for statements that you include in your syllabus. Here's one from J.D. Dirk. Here's one from Christina Tomilillo. And there are other examples of here, Trevor Thomas, Phyllis Schaefer. And this was an opportunity to connect with all of you and say, what do you use out there in your syllabus that can be a great resource? Because it's only my perspective, because it's only my voice and my experiences as a teacher, it's a different perspective than those that you have in terms of teaching and learning, or other faculty professional life perspectives. So that's why I try to reach out to all of you and say, send me your information, your resources, so that those can be shared more widely with the faculty. So as you go through the workshops page, find a topic that interests you. All you have to do is click on the video. It immediately takes you to YouTube. In some cases, these do have time indices at the bottom. In some cases, they don't. It, of course, tells you the number of views. And you simply click play in the video. If you need closed captioning, click on the closed captioning. And YouTube actually does pretty phenomenal closed captioning, in my opinion. So that is the extent of what you have to do if you want to watch one of the videos. If you want a handout related to a teaching talk or workshop, they're at the bottom of the page. Now, if there is one where I didn't feel comfortable including the video, it's not there. For an example, January 28th, Teaching Talk number 9. Some of the stuff that we discussed I thought could be controversial. So I have part of my anthropological training here, protecting people who we call informants as cultural anthropologists. I feel like I have to protect the anonymity of people, particularly if people share things that are controversial or things that might relate to FERPA or a specific student story that could be inferred, even if you didn't use the student's name, it could be inferred by the context that the faculty member related. So Teaching Talk 9, it will not be available on video. And I make that judgment call as someone who thinks, just as an anthropologist, I have that understanding of something that might be controversial, and therefore it cannot be presented publicly on YouTube. I say in all my workshops, if there's a point in a workshop where you don't feel comfortable having that comment shared, all you have to do is connect with me at the end of the workshop. I'll make a note of that comment, and I will go in my video editing software and completely take that out. I have no problem doing that, because it is important to protect all of your confidentiality out there when we share ideas together. So a sampling of some of the workshop topics from last year. You can look at these, go through the list. Everything from practical things like modules and pages in Canvas to assignments and announcements in Canvas, the syllabus workshop, favorite effective teaching methods. And I think moving forward, we'll continue to have conversations about empathy and academic standards. On the one hand, we have to balance being empathetic and realizing that COVID-19 has impacted everyone, including faculty and staff. But at the same time, we have to think about maintaining academic standards. So I suspect going into next year, we'll have some additional workshops and conversations focused on that key topic of balancing empathy with academic standards. So I won't go through these today, but these show you the various workshops. And I'm happy to report that in 2019-2020, we offered 61 live workshops. That means either an E100, which also was simulcasted on YouTube, and in some cases Facebook, and then also moving into COVID, live workshops, meaning they started at a specific time and we took questions and then those were archived on video. And of course, in the COVID era, we've been doing that through Zoom, which I think has served us well in terms of offering those live workshops. So I don't know if we'll have that many next year. That certainly is a lot for 1 year. But a lot of that was trying to be responsive to what happened with COVID-19 and really trying to train people and help people out there, because my realization was that people did need assistance on technology such as Zoom and some of those areas of Canvas. And I think it's important, by the way, as an institution, that we do live trainings. Canvas sites are great for trainings, but Canvas sites are incredibly static. I'm not convinced that there's a lot of interactivity that is going on in some of our Canvas sites. And so we have to think about upping our game and making our trainings more interactive, and having them live with live Q&A certainly is very interactive. We can have, I think, some of our more static resources shared on Canvas sites, but then what can we do to make those trainings more interactive with our faculty and staff on campus? So as I just mentioned, we've focused on adapting to COVID-19. The Teaching and Learning program provided facilitations, trainings, workshops focused on learning technology, distance education, EVE, or enhanced virtual education emphases. These efforts included outreach to all campus groups through the Zoom trainings and emphasize an adaptive approach to the trainings. As an example, in a workshop focused on online gradebooks, interest was expressed in a workshop that would center on managing attendance in summer classes. As a result of the feedback, a training on approaches to attendance was scheduled. And I really want to emphasize this. I build out trainings, I build out workshops based on my expertise, my knowledge of what I think would be appropriate for faculty out there, whether you're teaching for the first time or you've taught for us for 10, 15, 20 years. But that being said, I don't know what all the needs are, and needs differ, going back to that video I created on diverse faculty experiences. So if mathematics faculty have different needs than English faculty, than social science faculty, than wilderness studies faculty, it's important for me to know that, and then it's important for me to schedule workshops. But the only way I could do that is if I hear from all of you. If I'm guessing, if I don't hear your voices in surveys or in direct emails or Zoom office hour sessions, then I can't possibly develop those workshops. So I really encourage all of you to reach out to me more next year and to say, we need a workshop on this topic. And I loved what Sue and Maxine and Kata offered in terms of the needs of ISSE. It was very specific. Please focus on these 3 or 4 areas of Zoom and take it from there. And that was great. So if you can continue to do that next year, if you've done that, and if you haven't, reach out and let me know what important topics, contexts, technologies, or issues you would like to hear from, and we'll schedule those workshops. So these are some of the technology preparation trainings offered: Canvas, Zoom, Proctorio, Labster, Audio and Sound, which was a particularly fun one for me to do. I love the participation from all of you on that. Attendance, and these are the ones that got into working with other people on campus. So Mark Williams on eLumen, Treva Thomas on Canvas Gradebook, John Kingsbury on Passport Gradebook, Degree Audit by Drew Cunningham, and Glean with Kelly Greiner. It's a note-taking software service. And I'm mentioning this because one of the comments I read in the surveys was that there isn't enough involvement of other faculty voices on campus. And I 100% agree with you. But again, going back to the point earlier, the only way to get your faculty voices is either for me to reach out to you and say, would you be willing to do a workshop on this particular topic? And in a couple of these cases, I did do that. In other cases, people approached me. The other opportunity is that you do exactly what I just said. You would approach me and say, hey, I would love to do a workshop for faculty on how I use this new app in my classroom. or how I approach this particular issue working with students developing their educational plans in counseling, or something related to working with the collections in a library or digital resources or OER or ZTC resources for faculty. So if you can continue to send me ideas, I'll be very happy to schedule those workshops, to record them, to do all the groundwork for you so that you could just show up and offer the workshop over Zoom. I'll record it, archive it, and publicize it. So going back to videos, 209 videos created in 2019 and 2020. And again, just to emphasize, I read some survey comments about videos. Someone was asking, well, is my position only creating videos? I think as you'll see in this report, no, it's not just about creating videos. But the first point about that is some of those videos are necessary for training people on very practical things. As an example, if we want to talk about census rosters, it makes a lot more sense to do a video of how to do a census roster from start to finish. If you look at a lot of the trainings out there on YouTube related to technology, and I view these all the time, one of the best ways to learn something, like if I'm trying to learn something for my audio software, Logic Pro, I'll go onto YouTube, I'll type in a particular topic, and then it'll come up and I'll watch a tutorial. Those tutorials can range from, I've never seen one under 10 minutes. It just doesn't happen. They can be upwards of an hour. But what you can do is you can use a time index, you can jump around and take advantage of what's available in those tutorials. And I mention this because you can't encapsulate everything in a 5-minute video. And I know there's comments out there, well, we need shorter videos. The shorter videos essentially are created by that time index. And the reason I do that is if you don't want to watch an hour video, you go to the time index and find the part that interests you, click there. The minute you click on that time index notation, it'll take you to that point in the video. And let me just show you that because this is useful to know, again, if you haven't experienced the videos, it might be something that you're missing out on. So let me take you to my actual site. And if you ever want this, I can give you the channel information. So I'm just going to jump into my channel site here and let me look up the value of video. And this was a particularly long one, and this is the point of using the time index. So if you just click on the video, you could see it's pretty long. It's 1 hour and 29 minutes. But here's the deal. You scroll down and on the time index, you can choose the areas that interest you. So think of this as mini videos. In other words, if you want to look at some gear you can buy, that starts at 30 minutes and ends at 32 minutes. So that's actually a 2-minute video. It may not seem like that, but that's the whole point of these longer videos is you're trying to cover a range of topics and then you're breaking it down into little chunks. It's just like if you're doing a lecture. Most people don't do 5-minute class lectures. I mean, sometimes you do if you're working on an assignment and you're trying to get students to do some group work. But you often do a lecture where you break it down into pieces in your PowerPoint. You have the introduction, you have an example, you have a concept, an example, you maybe show a short video and so forth. So each of those is little chunks of information that you're presenting to students, and you could view that as mini lectures encapsulated within one long 1-hour lecture. This is really the same idea behind this. So if you look at this, if you want to learn just about copyright issues that relate to video, you click on that section, it immediately takes you to that point in the video. So I think it's important to mention this because when I read comments about length of videos, I would offer to you that the length of the video is really irrelevant because what's important is seeking out the information that you need and then interacting with that content. There's never an intent that you have to watch, as an example, this video from start to finish. If you want to, that's great too. I would say we have freedom in our lives to spend it how we want. I mean, some people want to sit and read Marcel Proust's Remembrance of Things Past, which would take you months to read because of its length. But if someone wants to do that, that's great. If someone wants to read something shorter, that's great. So the opportunity for choice is based on you, the viewer, the person interacting with the resources. There's nothing intended in the number or the length of videos that implies that you have to interact with all of them. The whole point is to offer opportunities for you to choose the resources that make the most sense for you. And I try to be as inclusive as possible with the video resources because I realize there are so many different needs out there. And another thing I want to offer in terms of video resources, in many cases, if you go back to the website, let me show you the DeBlocks section. You might not be aware of this too, because I received comments that people said there are only videos. Actually, all of these videos contain within them PowerPoints. And so if you watch my video on doing a rubric in Canvas as an example, I'm actually walking you through a PowerPoint that I created. And to create just the DeBlocks, I want to say it was like 1,000 PowerPoint slides. So all of these are thought out, they're planned, they involve screenshots, they involve thinking through all the functions that I'm trying to explain. In this case, how do you do a rubric within Canvas? The second thing I want to mention, though, is if you scroll to the bottom of this DeBlocks page, there are actually handouts that go along with the videos. And in this particular case, for every single video, you can get a one-pager. So if you click on this, you'll see that for the video on feedback, there's a one-pager that talks about what effective feedback should be like, and there's often a key tip as well. So I want to emphasize that because I think I read in some of the survey comments that the resources were only offered as videos. Again, the resources are offered in a variety of means, including textual means. I give you links to articles, and in this case, as you can see, pretty lengthy handouts. So what you could do is you could watch the video, for example, on course navigation, and download this PDF and just interact with that one page if you like that. And the DeBlocks, actually, to balance some of the other videos I've done, like the value of video, this particular one is 4 minutes and 56 seconds. So some of these are really short because they're chunks. Now what I could have done was I could have taken all of these and put them in one big video and then time indexed it by these particular subtopics. So it's kind of a matter of style, and some of that I would offer to you as well, is that we all have different styles in terms of how we present information and materials. And it's not like, just like if I walk in your classroom and you use short video clips and another person uses handouts, one person uses more group work than lecture, one of those techniques is not better or worse than the other. And I would argue that the technique that I'm using that relies on videos, for example, and an abundance of videos and sometimes lengthy videos is actually not a bad technique. It's my technique. And it's something that needs to be considered as well, because I think we all have different styles. And one of the things I want to do is support all of you and your different teaching styles. And I hope that you would support me as well in terms of my approaches, and see that we bring personal and authentic approaches to a lot of the work that we do in our various positions. And I certainly do that. I love making videos. I love doing music soundtrack for my videos. And I'll continue to do those going forward. So faculty onboarding. So we can also talk then about what the program has done in terms of faculty onboarding. And like a lot of other areas I discuss in this report, this is ongoing and changing over time. So one idea I had was to create this website, and indeed the website has been, I think, pretty successful, averaging over 300 visits per month. It's been hard for me to track this, unlike tracking it on YouTube, but you can always go back to the teaching and learning website, and you can click on any of these areas, and the idea is this will take you through various aspects of being on board at the college and also being trained at the college if you've worked here for a while. Starting at the point of being hired, moving through HR processes, trainings, being assigned to class if you're teaching a class, professional development, and networking, and kind of that cycle. It always kind of loops back because really training and professional development never ends. When I worked in the theme park industry, for Six Flags as a professional trainer back in the days in Houston, Texas, we always saw our job as training employees as ongoing. And we had over 2,400 employees. We were responsible in our training department of between 6 to 10 training coordinators. We were responsible for training those people starting at the beginning when they hired on, doing their basic safety training, their HR training. And then we also did follow-up and on-site training because things changed over time in terms of new rides or new technologies being developed at the park, new programs. And we had to make sure that people were up to speed on the most current stuff. So it was a cycle. It never ended. It started when you entered Six Flags and you took your first step into human resources, but it continued through the very last day that you work for the park. And I see it the same way in terms of teaching and learning, in terms of the ongoing nature of it. So in addition to The website that we have, you can go to, and I'd be happy to share this with you. If you log on to Canvas, you can access the Teaching and Learning Training website. And I've called this the LTCC Faculty Onboarding website. It's almost completely a duplicate of what the website is. But if you like a Canvas resource, you can work through the same material as a Canvas resource. So you can click on Begin Here, and it'll take you through the various modules and so forth. And I won't go through this all today, but it has everything that you will actually see in the Teaching and Learning website. Again, it's totally up to you. My personal opinion is that a website and a Canvas shell can be kind of static in terms of a training resource for you to work with. I don't personally like to read a static web page, a static Canvas page that just is a block of text, and that's my emphasis on videos. I actually think we need more videos because videos are more interactive in a lot of senses in terms of being what Marshall McLuhan may be called more of a hot media than a cold media. I don't personally like looking at a page of text because there's no interaction that can possibly happen with me in that page of text. But if there's a video, and if that video is based on Q&A and a live workshop, that is at least a little more interactive in terms of the basis of the information presented there. So this kind of goes through the setup of the website of the Canvas shell that includes an LTCC 101 that takes you through campus locations. So you can click on LTCC 101 even if you've never stepped foot on campus. You could find your way around virtually. As an example, I could scroll down and hear from President DeFranco. I could learn about governance. I could hear welcomes from many of the administrators, and I can go to all the various offices on campus and hear about the library, the foundation, student services, financial aid, advance, connect, university center, and so forth. So this is an opportunity to get a virtual experience of what it would be like to be on campus, because the whole point is a number of our faculty, I maybe would even say a majority, I don't have the numbers, but you teach for us virtually. You teach for us in ISP and DE, and if you never step foot on campus, we need to reach you. We need to show you what we are like as a campus, even though you can experience it face-to-face, going to campus, and even before COVID, you maybe couldn't do this if you were living in Washington State teaching for us. So that's kind of my idea behind the virtual side of the resources I've created and will continue to create. Here are the various resources that have been created through the program: in-person and virtual trainings, training videos, technical assistance, the onboarding site, Canvas Commons resources that you can take advantage of. Anytime you want to use those, all you have to do is log on to your Canvas site, click on Commons, and then type in the search box, and I'll continue to add these into next year. These are really great to use across the board, whether mine or others have created these. Click on LTCC, and then you'll see opportunities to download a class schedule, social media, logos, and an LTCC sample syllabus. All you have to do is click on the resource and then import it and download it into your Canvas site, and you're ready to go. You can, of course, adapt that once you bring it into your Canvas site. So I would love to develop more of those resources for you in the next year. Again, reach out to me. Let me know what kind of resources you would need or your part-time faculty would need as a department chair, and I'll be happy to work with you to create those. Syllabus resources, training PowerPoints, CVC OEI documents, and of course, numerous email training and resource updates. The largest attendance we've had in a workshop was March 18th, 2020. It was one of our very last on-campus workshops. Actually, we did it, I did it in my office, but many of you did it through Zoom. All of you did it through Zoom. And that was important because so many of you needed Zoom training, and we had 40 in attendance for that particular workshop. So kudos to all of you for attending. So as I mentioned, video production, I will continue to produce videos. I love videos. I'll never apologize for making videos. Again, if you're not a video person, there are resources that you can use. You can participate in a live training. And the good news about a live training is you don't have to watch it in a static sense. It's just like a movie, a live cast of a musical that they've done, say, on NBC, with all the mistakes and glitches and so forth. Even though I archive these, I think there is an advantage in watching these live, particularly as you can get some Q&A in at the end. By the way, one of the survey comments said there needs to be more time in the workshops for Q&A. And that's kind of tricky because there's a certain amount of content that I have to load into like a 1-hour workshop, and sometimes there's only 10 minutes left for Q&A. What I would say is if there's more opportunities to have additional workshops in the future or a follow-up on an important topic, we could do that to schedule more time for Q&A, because I realize it's really important for you to ask your questions and for me to try to answer those or get you more information about the topic. And so just going back, and this number was as of, I think, the end of June, 6,034 views of videos, all the videos related to teaching and learning. So I think that's a pretty good accomplishment for the program. Over the last year, certainly we can always do more. We can reach more people out there. I don't know who has watched the videos, but I can dial in and look at some demographic information. But with people spread out all over the world, if you will, in terms of teaching, it's sometimes hard to know who's watching those videos. But let me know if you have any comments or questions about audience and who's watching and that kind of thing. Interestingly enough, the top 5 most viewed videos, number 1 was Proctorio, the basics. And I think there was a lot of interest as so many colleges and universities worldwide adapted to COVID-19, and Proctorio was one way of adapting. It wasn't seamless. I heard some concerns from 1 or 2 math faculty about Proctorio not working, and that's a reminder for us that we need to have technical assistance for students, and that is offered in Proctorio, by the way. If you want more information, connect with me and I can definitely get you that information, because there is assistance often available for both faculty and students, but it's important to know how to get that assistance, as is the case here with Proctorio. Again, I mentioned that YouTube is a primary means for live casting the trainings. It's a great website. It works well. And one of the program's approaches is to make the campus virtual, and that's all the video shoots that I did actually a year ago when my position first started in July. I spent a lot of time working on the Promise program and also creating these videos. The extensive videos I did for ISP, those were actually done over 2 days, 2 almost 8-hour days of video shooting down in the ISP office. And they were so gracious with me, working with me. And actually, I shot it over 2 days because the first day, I thought everything was perfect, and I went back home and I discovered there was an error with my audio. So all that footage was killed. It was useless. So that sometimes happens, certainly with working with the technology and so forth. And the other thing I want to mention is that in doing these videos, it does take a lot of technical skill. It comes easy to me, but it's probably like skiing comes to you. I'm a terrible downhill skier. And so it's the same thing. If you're great at skiing, for someone like me, it's really hard to do downhill skiing. And maybe that's the case for you. I don't know your technical abilities, but for me, it's years of working on this stuff, whether it's the audio stuff, trying to get better audio, trying to get better video, purchasing video lights, experimenting with those video lights. So I do want to mention this because the videos don't just magically create themselves. It takes a lot of time to outline a video, to create a PowerPoint, to shoot the footage, to then bring that footage into the computer, to edit it, to do titles, to do transitions, to do audio at the beginning and ending, to work on my audio. Each of the various parts of a video actually has multiple steps, multiple programs that include Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, Audacity for audio, a slew of other programs out there as well. So I mention that because I think sometimes people see videos and think that, they're easy to make. I enjoy making them, but certainly they're time intensive in terms of what you have to do to get to a final product. So responsiveness, I think, has also been a key for the program. I keep saying we, kind of the royal we, but I'm one person in terms of the program. But the program relies on faculty input to develop trainings, workshops, and resources that will benefit the ever-changing teaching, learning, and professional development landscapes. Try to maintain an adaptive and proactive approach to faculty training and professional development. As an example here, I did a survey and I said, please indicate which of the following trainings you would like to receive. And this had some information. And then what I did was I tailored the training schedule, particularly in March and April, to what you responded to on the surveys. So please, if I send out a survey, respond to those surveys, because it's one way for me to program out workshops and trainings, videos, other resources. And this also had information about when would you like to participate in the workshop. I think at one point in March, I was doing 3 workshops a day, which was kind of heavy, so I had to cut that back a little bit. As you know, like with teaching, sometimes your voice starts to go and you just lose focus and so forth. But I try to be responsive to all of your needs out there. This is an example of a typical training structure. This relates specifically to creating a video. So as you can see, creating a video for a class or something on campus for your office, for your staff, is an involved process. This is an outline showing you what you need to know in all the various steps, and then you can kind of dial in and say, well, I want to do a live class session, so I'm going to watch this video or attend that workshop. I want to play a pre-recorded video and archive videos. I need this workshop. And then if you want advanced techniques, you can perfect your video, perfect your audio, learn how to archive and share video, creating a YouTube channel. So the training structures take into account all of the possible context, scenarios, situations, challenges that could be involved in technological, pedagogical, or other approaches out there. So I continue to make that point, is that if you have questions or comments or concerns, you want something that isn't being represented. If I don't hear from you, I can't possibly adapt. And that's the number one thing is I need to hear. In reading some of the survey comments, I thought to myself, I would have loved to hear some of those comments in person, to reach out to me and say, hey, can you please do a workshop on this topic? Because again, if I don't hear that directly, it's really hard for me to adapt and create that training. So please, if you can, be responsive with me next year. Reach out, let me know, and I will definitely develop that training based on your needs out there. And as I said, looking forward with the uncertainties in mind connected to COVID, we'll continue to support faculty and staff in training and professional development opportunities related to all these areas we've talked about today: technology, instruction, and connected areas. In addition, due to the program's goals of being adaptive to college and community needs, continue to evaluate new and emerging concerns, issues, and contexts in teaching, learning, and professional development so as to offer the most up-to-date connections to faculty and college needs. The LTCC Teaching and Learning Program will continue to promote the positive values of teaching and learning and faculty professional development in many ways. And again, if you're interested, you can click on this link, and I will link to the report in this video. You could also click on the Canvas shell here to self-enroll. So if you have a chance, you can certainly go back through the report and learn more about what's been happening, and hopefully this will answer some of your questions. And if you have concerns, you can certainly continue to reach out to me. And so that is it. That is a video presentation of the year-end teaching report for 2020. And if you have questions or concerns, please reach out to me. As I've said in this video, the goal of the program is to be adaptive to all of your needs. So let me know, and I'd be happy to schedule that next workshop or professional development training opportunity for you, your staff, your part-time faculty, or anyone else at LTCC. So thanks for listening, and I'll certainly be back with more videos and resources for you related to teaching and learning here at Lake Tahoe Community College in the future.